Hi everyone, welcome to my review of David Kerr's Johnny English Strikes Again from 2018. So yes, back again here, the third film in this trilogy, if you will, at least currently. And yes, we are here back again. And of course, this trilogy, the entire trilogy was requested by the YouTuber Jared Griffiths. So check his channel out. Once again, as I always say, great channel. I'll leave a link in the description. And yes, just honestly, check that one out. And this is another film, of course, of a request by him. And yes, once again, it's a film. And I saw this for the first time about a month and a half ago now. It's just I've taken a while to get to these reviews. But yeah, once again, when I heard this was coming out, a while back, it's just a surprise to me. Just like Reborn, that was a real surprise. Never thought we'd get, a sequel really. As we know, these are not popular films with the critics. Absolutely not. They're panned, and while they are box office, successes, I think the fans even, IMDb and stuff, just not popular films. I think this is a really good trilogy overall. Just in terms of modern, comedies. I think they're good films, all three of them, and just, I think quite a rare kind of set of films here, trilogy. If you will, just in terms of comedy, that I think, I don't quite see the hate for these films. But yes, this one, is it's going to be a short review. This one, but yes, it's I think it's the worst of the three. But I think it's a good film, and that's to note. I think it's definitely got a heart. Once again, a charm, and this time, and it's not going to be a spoilers review or anything. But yes, basically, many of the agents, within MI7, of course, are compromised. Basically, this is kind of cyber attack, and this film really deals with technology and all this kind of stuff, and very typical of a lot of modern films. They would just, it's quite a big theme going on in a lot of films at the moment. But I think this film started out in doing some really interesting things with it. It's just some slight directions in the final act that I was kind of, it was a bit, kind of quite. It's a shame a little bit, but it's a good film. But yes, it's a film that is very different in many ways to the other two, and it's kind of, yes, once again, it's a James Bond kind of a spoof, kind of parody, and many other things like the Mr. Bean character, of course, but. It is a bit different, especially what they're doing with the villain here. And Jason Volter is the main antagonist, of course, of the film, played by Jake Lacy. They're basically this billionaire, this tech billionaire, and he basically, it's a kind of a plan, it's a ploy, of course, saying he's going to be making these, these improvements to data management, and of course, it's this big plan, of course, to take over and stuff. So yeah, very, very typical, of course. I think the villain here is once again, quite disappointing, but that's the only disappointment really of the film, just in that sort of direction at the end. But because I think the rest of it, it's not massively flawed. It's just it's a good comedy at times, some really good moments, just an enjoyable film once again. And of course, Rowan Atkinson once again playing Johnny English, and this time, I did not know that Ben Miller would be returning, as his fellow agent. I think just it was really pleasing to see actually, because he was really good in the first film, and I really liked Daniel Kaluuya in the second film, but it was really nice to see them bringing back Ben Miller's character here, and it's kind of because the best thing about this film really for me is the kind of nostalgic feeling it has, because it's these two guys, and it's constantly dealing with first kind of the old ways kind of thing, because they have to bring back these old agents that are kind of retired and stuff. That's the whole kind of situation here. Johnny English is no longer an agent, and of course at the beginning he's a geography teacher. Although there's some really amazing stuff they do with the kids at the school. Basically, he's secretly teaching them kind of spy stuff here, and kind of training them, if you will, and it's really funny stuff there, and I think there's a really grounded comedy there, classic kind of British feeling, and yes, the whole thing is to kind of bring back these old agents, to kind of, because everyone else is compromised to the current agents, so it's very, very good what they do with the kind of the old ways. It's kind of very nostalgic, dealing with the past and stuff, and yeah, just I really liked what they were doing then. The final act, as I say, kind of goes in a direction where doesn't completely undo that, but it just kind of falls into that kind of way. It's just very, very modernised. Just the feel of it, it doesn't quite fit as well, maybe as it could have done, and stuff. But the rest of the film, and even that final act, I still enjoy, of course. But yeah, mainly for the reason of the villain and stuff, and the fact that it's just not as memorable for me, and quite as funny as the first two. But that's why it's the worst of the three. But I think it's a solid film once again. And of course, Rowan Atkinson is definitely hilarious at times once again, no question. And Ben Miller as well, really really good in this film. It was just great to see these two together once again, just adding this this kind of friendship here, this charm that I really really enjoyed seeing. You've got Emma Thompson in this film, taking over some kind of role here, and I think she's fine in the film. I was kind of disappointed with a little bit with the kind of material she was given, to kind of go by. But she's of course a really great actress. Big fan of Emma Thompson, and she does a fine job here. But it's just the material really. Some of the side characters in this, just it could have been better, I think. But that's the main flaws of the film. The rest of it is just mostly, for most of the film, very enjoyable or enjoyable for me, and just it's a solid comedy film. Once again, quite an effective parody of James Bond kind of stuff, and it's a bit different here, but I love how it kind of deals with this nostalgic feeling, and the kind of old ways, the clash of ideals and stuff, and it's very very good at times. What it's doing here, the slapstick once again is on point. Not quite as kind of as good as the first two, and it does have some moments that go a bit too far and just don't quite make me laugh too much. But yeah, I think it's competently directed. I think actually the cinematography is at times very good. I do like the kind of locations. Yeah, just very peaceful film at times. I really like the feeling it has, especially in the first half of the film. Actually, really really good. Just a very nice feel and a look to the film, and I think the villain, is not great for me. It is quite funny at times what they do with him, but it does become a bit slightly kind of irritating at times maybe, and just I think it's very much a very basic villain, and it doesn't it's not that effective really for me. What they're doing here with his character, and the plan, of course, that he tries to take over and stuff with this whole kind of ploy with data management and everything. It's very it's just not that compelling really for me, and I kind of it's not that appealing really, but it's okay at times. But yes, the villain is just it's not that great at all. I think Reborn definitely has the best villain, and the kind of relationship they have and stuff is really really good. And Dominic West definitely the standout villain of these films. But yes, I think it's a solid film once again. We'll wrap up, I think, because it's a film I recommend to anyone. Although of course very clearly not everyone really likes these films, but that's fine. I do really enjoy this trilogy. I think it's very consistent. Mostly it's a good film, this one, and a bit weaker of course for me. From going from Reborn to this, it's a bit of a step down, but it's not drastic kind of disappointment or anything. It's definitely a worthy sequel once again, I think, and I'd have to give it a 71%. I think a good comedy film. I did really enjoy the action at times. The locations, this is really good locations here, and just I really like the kind of the stuff at the score was very very good and original, and just very very funny stuff there. Some really good writing throughout the film at times. Maybe not with the villain and the whole kind of plan here, but that's something I can kind of, it doesn't drastically affect the film too much, but it is an issue I have. But a surprise was seeing Olga Kurylenko. She was actually very good in the film as well. I did enjoy as well the romance between her and the character, of course, of Johnny English. The chemistry between her and Rowan Atkinson was actually very good. So that's another thing positive about the film. Actually, I think actually that's better than Reborn, and probably actually the first Johnny English. Actually, maybe I think it's definitely possibly the best romance kind of thing here, and I think just this whole kind of bringing back the past in the first half, especially, and just nostalgic feeling it has, and the kind of the team up once again. I think with the two characters, Ben Miller, his character that he plays, and of course Johnny English. That's a thing that I like. That has over the other two. Just this feeling. It's very very pleasing, and the initial surprise, of course, of seeing Ben Miller was really really pleasing to me, because he was really good, and of course in the first one, and it was just really good to see. And yeah, because I didn't look into the plot or anything of this one before seeing it, of course. And yeah, it's just very enjoyable at times. The final act is definitely not as good as the rest of the film. It's slight dips there, and there's moments throughout that go a bit too far. But wow, this trilogy, I think really maybe deserves more credit. It certainly at least doesn't deserve the hate. I'm not saying everyone would like this film and this trilogy, but I don't quite see the complete hate, especially the critical kind of consensus. It seems like they're all, you'd expect them if you've never seen them to be all awful films, but it's just strange. This one once again is a good comedy film in my opinion, and it just doesn't do anything to kind of make me understand how it's considered such a bad film by some, this whole trilogy. But yeah, this is my take on the film. Everyone have their own opinions, but yeah, I think definitely an underrated trilogy, and one of the better once again, one of the better comedies, at least, of recent years. And yeah, I think Reborn and the first Johnny English is better than this, but it's still a good film, despite not being quite as good as these ones. But yeah, it's definitely Rowan Atkinson once again, hilarious at times. Ben Miller really great at times as well. This chemistry is really here, and yeah, it's just a really pleasing romance at times. The villain is not good in my opinion, and it could, once again, it's a film that it could definitely be better. Especially the writing in this one, and the overall, the way the plot is just, it doesn't quite, it just doesn't compel me really too much. In terms of this whole the end plan, the villain and the way it kind of is executed, just in this one. But yeah, a good film, and very very enjoyable at times. And yeah, it's just a nostalgic kind of feel good comedy film, comedy action, and once again a pretty effective film in my opinion. So yes, the trilogy of course has concluded. And if you ask me now what is my favourite, it's probably Reborn. I'm not going to rank these because it's 3 films, but yeah, Reborn probably, and then the first one, and then this, but all good films in my opinion. So yes, as always, thanks for watching my review.